All right, everyone, we're going to get started now. Welcome to the last minute advice stream for the September SAT. It is 8 a.m. in the morning, so people in Korea, where I am, so basically all the Korean kids have started the SAT just about now. All of you in the States, you have maybe like 12 more hours before you have to wake up, something like that. 12 to 15 more hours. So let's get the ball rolling. I posted a question for everyone. So if you are new to the channel, or if you're just seeing me for the first time or whatever, you don't know what to say, just tell me what your target math and reading writing scores are and what your biggest obstacles are. Beast Boy, what's up? Jeremy, what's up? Drizzly, what's up? And Avika, who is joining from Discord, what's up? All right, we're gonna get started. By the way, today I am doing a dual stream. So what that means for you guys is, I'm experimenting with this. I might give if anybody in the Discord dual stream decides to raise their hand, I might give you the opportunity to actually share your screen with me if you have something you want me to look at. But and speak with me if you have something you want to actually directly discuss. But it is a bit of an experiment, so I don't know how much I'm going to actually do that. But anyway, if anyone wants to join via Discord, you can actually do it there, and we'll go. Oh wait, my screen share is actually not set up correctly right now, but whatever, it's fine. So here. Let's go. So I'm seeing Jeremy is saying target score is 800. Oh, congrats. 800 on a practice test. That's awesome. And was that a Blue Book practice test? Because that really helps if it's, College Board official, stamp, sealed, approved. I bet that improves your confidence quite a lot. Drizzly, staying focused in Module 2, doing good. Keeping high accuracy. Okay, that's really good. And I think when your obstacle right now is, I think Jeremy and Drizzly are talking about similar things here, which is that fatigue and that lack of focus that sometimes happens. One thing that I sort of teach in my classes and that I'll just share here. It can be pretty easy to lose momentum, and especially in Module 2 where you kind of run into like these brick walls, like question 8 and 9 and then 12, 13, and then 15. Those could be like brick walls, right? And you're like bashing into them, but you can't really make it through. I think when it comes to those questions, the main thing to keep in mind is, depending on your target score, guys, you might not even need to solve them. You could just sort of skip them and sacrifice them, and you would still get your target score. Now, in Beast Boy's case, if it's questions 8, 9, 12, 13, and 15, if those are the brick walls, right? His target score, I'm going to say his Beast Boy, right? His target score is 760 plus. But the thing is, generally speaking, if those are truly the brick walls, they're going to be the hardest questions in that test. So what that means is you actually can just make guesses on those 5 questions. And statistically speaking, how many of those 5 questions do you think you're going to get correct? Maybe like 2, right? So that means you would get just like by chance, you'll maybe get 2 of those 5 wrong. 2 of those 5 right, which leaves you with 3 wrong. Okay? And that is actually within striking range of Beast Boy's target score, because if Beast Boy decides to just circumvent, just completely skip, right? Like you read the passage and you try to formulate a proper prediction and you try to look for it. But once you realize that this is like a really overwhelming question, if you decide to just sort of skip and maybe return to it at the end, or maybe not even return to it at the end, you just sort of sacrifice it altogether. But instead, you take all those minutes that you save and distribute it on the easier questions, and you guarantee to yourself that you got all the other questions right, you're going to get your target score. You will. If you only get 3 wrong, and those 3 are brick walls, those are like the hardest questions in the test, you're going to get 760. And I think that's a big paradigm shift. I think a lot of you guys don't really realize that you actually can get your target score without even trying on 3 of these questions. And the numbers change depending on your target score, depending on your current reading and writing abilities and all that stuff. But the principle remains the same. When you make sacrifices, you actually can free up your time to improve your confidence on all the other questions, and that can guarantee your score. All right, so that's my initial advice for that particular obstacle, and how does that connect to being focused and tired? Well, being focused and tired, I mean, imagine how fun it is playing an actual competitive sports match or sports game, right? When the 2 teams are kind of like roughly equal skill level, and you guys, like, every decision you make actually makes an impact on the team's performance, right? And you can feel it actually changing your chances. Like every pass that you make, every mistake that you make, you can feel the difference that it will make on the outcome of your match. And then compare that to another situation in which either you're totally dominating, which is maybe less relevant for the SAT, or you're getting totally dominated, right? When you're getting totally dominated, it's psychologically very hard, and this is one of the things that separates like really good athletes from just kind of like middling sort of amateur athletes, is like the ability to still stay within the game. But when you're getting totally dominated, the temptation is to kind of like give up, because you don't feel that you can actually make an impact on the scoreline, on the ultimate outcome of the game. And when that happens, you naturally feel like the positive emotions, right, start going away, and they get replaced with these negative emotions. And tiredness and lack of focus is directly connected to how much control you feel that you have over your circumstance. So I am willing to bet that you guys are going to feel a lot more in control of your circumstances if you are focusing on the questions that don't feel like brick walls. If you focus on all the other questions and make sure that you get them to a very high confidence, you're going to feel a lot more in control. And when you feel that way, then your focus and your tiredness issues will naturally resolve themselves. Okay, Jeremy, saw your, but yeah, congrats on having that perfect score on the Princeton Review test. Avika, I'm seeing finding the subject and verb of a sentence and determining if the sentence needs a finite versus a non-finite verb. That is not the way I think, and that requires a different, because so a non-finite verb is not really for me, I just don't call them verbs. And yeah, that requires a bit of a longer lecture. So for that, Avika, if you have an example sentence, I would actually prefer you to just share the sentence into chat, and I can analyze that sentence. But I don't think in that way. So because I don't think in that way, I don't have an answer for that for that question. Because, yeah, non-finite verbs are not like functionally acting as verbs in the structure of the sentence, you know? So because they don't act as verbs in the structure of the sentence, I just don't call them verbs. And I think, so if we call and yeah, and so yeah. So people, when they study grammar using various resources. And the thing is that they're not necessarily wrong. Every grammar resource has its own system, and hopefully that's an internally consistent system. They're using the same words for different features of the English language, right? But because those systems maybe they're internally consistent, but they may not, map onto my actual thought processes. So I have my own sort of grammar, quote unquote, system where it is internally consistent and it maps onto my thought processes. So it's kind of like we're just two different apps, and we just sort of like need an API. We need a set of APIs to sort of like communicate with each other. And this is it's hard for me to explain that, but I'll say what I would normally say, which is, hey, first of all, skip the modifiers, identify the independent clauses, figure out what it means, make sure that the subject and the verb actually means the thing that the sentence is trying to say. Okay, and then once you do that, you'll see your verb. Okay, so that's my general answer, but with a more specific example, we might be able to get into it in more detail. Beast Boy, you need to get everything else. So Beast Boy is pushing back on that method. I think it's not actually that hard. But the thing is that you guys think that just, and basically it comes down to, let's say you have 1 minute. Marginally speaking, if you spend that 1 minute on a brick wall, what's your confidence you're going to get it right? If you spend that 1 minute on non-brick wall questions, then what's your confidence you're going to get it right? There is a way to be 100% sure that you're going to get correct. It's just that maybe you've never learned it. But the College Board SAT questions, at least when I'm tutoring my students and I'm teaching my classes, like, there is a way to know that your answer is right. And it's actually very replicable. And actually, one measure of progress is being able to shot call, right, your shots. Like being able to call your shots, which is shot calling. So being able to call your shots. So this is just kind of, I'm going to step back and talk a little bit more illustratively about how this works. When I start tutoring a student, okay, one of the first kind of little exercises we do is before we score their practice test, before we review their practice test at all, I ask them to go back over all their questions, and I have them mark their confidence levels on all their questions. Okay? And this is just, this allows them to kind of review the questions before we even start the tutoring, before we get into the review portion of the tutoring. And then I ask them, okay, count up how many high confidence answers you have. And then maybe out of 27 on module 1, they'll have like 24 high confidence answers. And then I'll say, okay, now that means there's 3 questions that you're not high confidence on. Okay? Just, make a guess. How many do you think overall you're going to get right out of 27? And so, some kids who are underconfident and they don't trust themselves, even when they write high confidence, they'll bet something like 24 out of 27. Some people who really believe in themselves, they'll kind of bet something like 25 out of 27 or 26 out of 27. I don't know, right? People will bet different outcomes, but invariably in the first session, their bets are wildly wrong. Kids are awful at guessing how many questions they're getting right at the beginning. But actually, once you learn some very basic techniques, you can have more accurate bets. And by the way, the name of this exercise is the bet. So I have them make bets on how many questions they got right. And basically, the vast majority of my students, I would say more than 80% of my students, we'll start having accurate bets after 4 sessions, because it's actually quite manageable. And this is the day before the SAT. So how are you going to even apply this idea? I don't think you're going to be able to apply it really without some practice, but I would say the lesson, at least, is to defend all parts of your answer choices, right? If every single word in your answer choice, not the other answer choices, forget the other answer choices, if every single word in your answer choice is correct, then it will not be incorrect, right? You can't be wrong if every single word is correct. And this is a habit that you need to learn, and I don't think you'll be able to learn it between now and tomorrow, but it is possible to know that you got your questions right and to not be wrong, to not be overconfident about it. Okay. By the way, when I said accurate bet, for anybody who's kind of technically inclined, when I was saying 80% of my students, 80 or more than 80% of my students start having accurate bets, I mean plus or minus 1. So they'll bet something like I got 25 out of 27, and then they'll score either 24 or 25 or 26. So for me, that's what I consider an accurate bet, and it is very possible for students to have accurate bets. It's very consistent. I see it across all types of students, underconfident students and overconfident students will eventually start getting accurate bets. So I might miss some of your questions. If I do, just repost them. But here we go. Your SAT's in 30 minutes. Good luck, Itgul. And Sohum is saying target source 700, struggling at 5 to 15, spend way too much time writing small notes. Yeah, it'll help you, but you know what will also help you? It'll help you when you're looking at 5 to 15 and your target score is 700. It'll help you to just sacrifice 5 of them. It's okay. You can just sacrifice 5 of them, and you don't need to get all of them right. Just be more confident in the ones that are manageable at your level. But yeah, writing small notes will definitely help. The thing is that you shouldn't try. Actually, Soham is reminding me of something that I tell all my students. Don't do new things tomorrow, okay? Whatever you do tomorrow should feel just like another practice test. You should not be trying new ideas tomorrow. Why? What do you think will happen when you try new things tomorrow? Okay. Basically, the uncertainty, right, of like maybe this causes, positive, but maybe this causes negatives that you have never experienced ever before, that uncertainty creates a new layer of stress on top of everything you're already doing. And now you start self-doubting in the middle of the process you already are. So now if you've been practicing a certain way and you've been scoring in, I don't know, let's just say you've been scoring 700-ish, right? And you're like, God damn it, I need a 750. And then you just do a totally new thing tomorrow. Or you add new things that you've never tried before tomorrow. How likely is it you're going to get a 700 rather than a 750 instead of a 650? Not very likely. You're much more likely to get a 650 than a 750. Doing new things is not good for you. So if you just think everything you've done up until now has been a total waste of time, then whatever, fucking YOLO it, right? Then do whatever the hell you think. Yeah, just vibe it out, and maybe you get a 750, but very unlikely. But I don't know. But if you've actually been learning stuff for the last week or the last 2 weeks or the last month, and there's actually some basis for the scores that you're receiving, then, dude, do not do new things tomorrow. So going back to, I think, Soham, if writing down notes, is totally new to you, you haven't tried it, you have 2 options. Try it now. Okay, try it now before tomorrow comes and see if it improves your test taking. That said, it's a little late, right? So the second option is just don't even think about it. Because what is the potential benefit of writing notes? Maybe it'll improve your thoughts. But what's the potential cost? Maybe it'll cost too much time on questions that you don't need to take time on. And like, I don't know, we don't know the balance yet because you haven't actually tried it yet, right? Like I think there's right ways. Like any tip in the world, you just look for any SAT tip in the world, right? It could be like the most solid sounding SAT tip, and there is always some way to fuck it up, some way to overdo it, or some way to do it in a way that's only partially done, so it actually doesn't help you that much. Any tip in the world, you can always fuck it up, which means that there's no just you're not just like a robot that just follows the orders, right? You need to actually try it and figure out what parts of it works, work and why it works, and then embody it, get it as part, like make it second nature. And once you do that, then you can actually bust it out on the real SAT. Do not do new things tomorrow. Do not do new things tomorrow. Okay. Lots of questions, lots of chats. So I'm just gonna see what I see. Head is melting. He said 790, 740, 800, 750. Study. I mean, what are you gonna do? Review the head is melting. You should not be. You probably shouldn't be studying really. You shouldn't be adding new information. I think you should kind of just be systematizing your approach so that tomorrow you don't panic and then you don't diverge or digress from the way that you actually solve. So try to imagine the worst case scenarios and think about what you're going to do in response and how you've already been managing those situations, and then just codify that, set it down in stone so that you can just lock in and do exactly what you've always been doing, and that'll be basically the thing that gives you your score. I also think, by the way, for tomorrow, I'll add one more thing, Head. You want a higher score than your practice test score, okay? It's likely that causes a little bit of, it kind of harms the confidence a little bit, right? So actually, psychologically, I want you to aim at, I would recommend just aiming at the same score as your practice test score, okay? What that means is, instead of thinking, oh, I can't get even one question wrong, just think, I can sacrifice one for now, all right? And what that allows you to do is allows you to not obsess about question, let's say 13, It's like, because psychologically, when you hit question 13 in module 2 and you're like, oh, fuck, right? Instead of being like, oh, I can't get this one wrong, you'd be like, I can maybe sacrifice this one, right? And then that lets you move on from it. And then you could finish 14, 15, 16, all the way to 27. And then, lo and behold, you moved on, and hey, now you have some extra time. And when you're taking that extra time, I want you to really lock in the 790 first. So 740, my bad, but I misread it backwards. But anyway, let's just stick with 790 just because I started the example that way. But now, lo and behold, you have some time, and what you do is you actually hold off on question 13, and you cover your other bases first. You double check 8. Maybe you're not high confidence on 8. Double check 8. Double check 13. Double check 22. Right? Double check the other ones, and then you're like, well, I'm kind of done double checking all the other ones. Oh shit, I still have, I don't know, 40 seconds or whatever. Let's just Hail Mary this 800, and then you go back to question 13, and then you go for the jugular there, right? That's the best way to ensure that you don't panic on question 13 the first time you see it, because you actually don't have to get it right the first time you see it. You're gonna let it go. You're gonna take care of the other business, all right? And then you're gonna be pleasantly surprised because you didn't get all obsessive about it, because you didn't get all clingy about it, all right? You're gonna be pleasantly surprised that you actually have some time left over to try question 13 at the end of that run. Okay, so then it's actually two goals. The first goal is hit the 790 first, and then as a bonus goal, you hit the 800 second. Avika has been saying stuff, but I've kind of been missing. Threading is much. Oh, you're just yeah, just okay. Got it. Comments. Uh, Beast Boy. Typical locked in, which is like what do kids even mean when they mean locked in, right? Versus attentive to what matters. So that's funny. Like, have you ever watched like a movie with like a plot twist? You know, and then have you ever rewatched it? When you rewatch it, when there's like a when there's like a major plot twist at the end of the story, when you rewatch it, what happens? You start noticing things that were such obvious clues for the plot twist that you didn't pick up on it the first time, right? You didn't pick up on the clues the first time you watched it, but you see them only in retrospect. Well, dude, a lot of teachers, will say stuff like, "Oh, identify the important information and filter out all the unimportant information." Dude, how do you even know what the important information is? A lot of teachers, especially like college age, like people who aren't like who don't really think about education, they just got a good score. For them, they know the important information because they already saw the plot twist. They already saw the answer key, right? The question is, how do you know what is important information and what is not important information without knowing, without seeing the plot twist, without seeing the answer key? And that is a whole like can of worms. If you're in my course, you've learned about threading, you've learned about triangling transitions. I think I might have briefly shouted out logic chains. There are ways of sussing out what the important information is and what the non-important information is, but there is no just sort of like magic filter that you just like swipe right and then there's like this filter that shows you like in night vision, like all the important information. There's nothing magic like that. The ability to identify the important information is reading. Like that is reading, and reading is many things. It requires many multiple skills. So when it comes to being attentive to what matters, at least, okay, I'll tell you the general clue. The general clue is to understand the structure of the passage, see where the transitions are, okay, and then evaluate what the relationships are between the segments of the passage and figure out logically what has to be more important in real time. Okay, so if I say something, I'll just give you a quick, really dumb example. Here's a really, like, this is like a 400 level. It'll sound like a synthesis question at a 400 level, okay? Here we go. I like apples. I like fruits. I like apples, which is a fruit. I like oranges, which is a fruit. Okay. The student wants to present the main idea. Okay. So main idea means the most important idea. I gave you 3 bullet points. Every single one of you already knows that the main idea is not apples, it's not oranges, it's I like fruits, okay? Every single one of you knows this. Well, that's just a really dumbed down version of what you're gonna do, except you're gonna do it not in bullet points, you're gonna do it in sentences, and then you're gonna fucking judo the grammar, because sometimes the sentences have like these crazy twisted, like Dalsim, twisty grammar structures, and you're going to figure it out, and then you're going to figure out what the main idea is, right? Which one is subordinated to the other, right? And that is actually reading. So that requires skills. And so that has nothing to do with locking in, or no direct relationship to locking in. It's just, are you reading or are you not reading? Locking in is locking in is such a broad idea, but basically my sort of kind of technical way of the way my brain works when I think of locking in, the way I define it is, do you know what you're doing at any given 10-second interval? Do you know what you're doing? Right? Do you have an instruction or a task or a goal that you're trying to accomplish? Right? Like if you have like a task, like if I was like watching you in God mode, right? Where basically I'm kind of watching you as like you're like taking the test, but at any given moment I can hit pause and then I can enter your mind and then read what's in your mind, right? Basically, arbitrarily at any given moment, I can pause the video, pause the world, read your mind. Every time I pause, I read your mind, and then I ask your mind, "Hey, what are you trying to do right now?" And then you're saying something very specific. You say, "Oh, I am looking for the subject of the sentence," or "I'm looking for the relationship between wild mice and knockout mice. Are they the same mice or are they not the same mice?" And that's like the question that's in your head. And if you're saying stuff like that every 10 seconds, then I'm like, yeah, you're locked in. But if you're saying something like, "I don't know what I'm looking for," then you're not locked in. You're lost. Okay. So I am lost. Then that is not locked in. So according to my definition of locked in, it means you know what you're doing every 10 seconds. And I think that is a totally different topic from, well, not totally. It's like tangential topic to the ability to filter important information from unimportant information. For poetry, Caitlin is saying, is it better to pick the least? Well, the thing about poetry is there's multiple poetry question types. If you're talking about main idea questions, then actually I would say statistically, you want to do the one that just restates the poem, if it's a main idea question, right? So, but basically, yeah. How do I give you? I mean, Caitlin, I don't know how familiar you are with like the way that I solve, but assuming you are familiar with the way that I solve, essentially what you're doing is you're reading a poem, okay? And the first thing you do when you read the poem is you should read the blurb before the poem because it will give you something to help you understand that poem, okay? 90% of the time, it will. So you read the blurb, then you read the poem. And as you're reading the poem, you're just trying to look for transitions, okay? And just trying to chunk it into parts because you might not understand every single sentence, but you should be able to understand the transitions, okay? And just try to figure out the shape of the poem first. And then maybe if you don't want to go fully deep into my methodology because you don't really know it, then I would say maybe just try to mentally summarize each section that you see. This means this, this means this, this means this. And then for the main idea, just try to take the little summary of the parts and then try to synthesize that into one main idea and then just go for the one that matches. Okay, so that's, I guess, the overall flow of it. But really, you're not asking part of you is probably asking about just the general flow, but part of you is really asking about what do I do when I don't even understand the poem. And when you don't really understand the poem, now it's really about your target score and your current score. Because as I said at the very beginning of the stream, if your target score is 700, right? Maybe that question, that poem, the one that you are solving, which is maybe question number 7, right? Maybe question 7 is difficulty ranking, has a difficulty rating of 720. So you are right now asking me, oh, Saul, how do I approach a 720 difficulty poetry question when my target score is 700? And my answer is, just skip. Like, try it, right? Break it down, do the same approach that I just said earlier, right? break it down, try to figure out, even if you can't suss out every single line, every single sentence, right? Just try to suss out the general shape of it and then make a prediction and then match. But hey, if it's 720, if it's a 720 difficulty poem question and you are aiming for 700, you're probably going to fail to predict and fail to match. And then when you go into process elimination, you're probably going to fail to find one answer choice that you can fully defend. That's okay, because that's above your target score. So just move on. You gave it one honest attempt. You got slapped around a little bit, but don't just keep getting slapped around. Be like, I have dignity. I want to get a 700. I have a thing to do. So you are not it. Move on. Move on. And when you have this mentality, when you're ready to move on from questions that are beyond your level, then what will happen is you'll find that at the end of module 2, we're like, holy shit, because I moved on from all those questions that were not my level, I actually have extra time. I can go back, and then you can go back and reread it, and then I just saw your new comment, which is that you're actually aiming pretty high. But when you go back to a question after taking a break from it, okay, that's very similar to when you are in the middle of like a heated argument with somebody, with like a close friend, right? You're like in a really intense argument about you're fighting basically with your friend. All right. Oftentimes when you're fighting with a friend, one of the best things you can do is just to take a break. Okay. Go take a break where you're not looking at your phone. Okay, where your thoughts can sort of like circulate in your head, right? Go to the bathroom without your phone. Go take a walk without your phone, and then come back and meet. It doesn't even have to be very long. It could be just like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It can sometimes even be as short. It depends on how much self-awareness you have. If you have extremely high self-awareness, it can literally be 2 minutes. But take a break, you come back. And what happens? During that break, all the sort of like distorted sort of like kind of like assumptions that you have about what the other person is saying, right? They all sort of relax a little bit. And then you can actually re-engage and maybe be like, oh, maybe you were right about this one point that I completely was ignoring. You said this earlier, I heard it, but I wasn't really processing it because I was trying to make my point. Well, it's the same thing with the SAT. You come back to it and you're like, oh, I actually sacrificed you earlier, but now that I look at you again, it's actually, yeah, it's kind of obvious what you're saying. And then you move on and get that correct answer, and that happens. It happens all the time. So just move on. Just move on. And this also is true, by the way, even if your target score is 750. Because that one question that you're like bashing your head on might be a 770 level, or it might be actually a 750 level, but 750 is just on the cusp of your ability, right? So then it might be a 750 level. You might just need to take a break, come back, and it'll help you, okay? Dude, Ahmed. Actually, Ahmed, I remember your name. Well, then again, there's a lot of Ahmeds, so there's a lot of Ahmeds in the world. So actually, maybe you're not the same Ahmed. Well, welcome back to the channel, even if you're not the same person that I remember. But I will say, it is in the works for me to focus on reading comprehension for the other tests. It's been in the works for a very long time, but it is not realistically going to happen. It's not really going to happen in the next year, because right now I finally started launching the app, and once I have the app and the content that's built around the app for the SAT, then I'll probably move to maybe MCAT, maybe LSAT, maybe GMAT. I'm probably going to start with GMAT, to be frank, because I think GMAT kids are the ones that are least embarrassed about spending money on their education. But we'll see. But, I need to make the business work, so I'll probably focus on the GMAT and then maybe the LSAT or MCAT, depending on what feedback I get, what signals I get. But, realistically, the most important thing for me is to make the SAT course profitable enough so that I can take that money and invest it into more developers and designers, because I'm not good at some of this, and marketers even. I'm not really good at marketing either. So I need to finance the business. And I'm gonna, so I need my SAT course to succeed. Actually, I've just realized I'm not even doing this thing. I forgot to do this thing, but anyway, I do have an SAT course, and it will hit eventually. It will hit GMAT, LSAT, and MCAT reading comprehension. But right now, just the SAT. Sorry, the timing's not working. Thank you though. It's very encouraging to hear back from previous viewers. That's awesome. Yeah, and by the way, if anyone who is here is taking the course or who has taken the course before, I would appreciate it so much if you can share your honest impressions, your honest reflections on how it changed your approach to the reading. Because I really do think reading education, especially tests, well, it's actually two parts, right? There's the government-funded public education system and the curriculum that is based around what a citizen needs to know, and then that's kind of been captured by what the colleges are seeking, and then that's also kind of captured by what industry is seeking, and it's this whole pipeline of societally there's education, and then there's things that we teach you for English, okay? And then there is the tests, and they kind of don't communicate with each other very well. It's actually, there's this two huge things, and they're not really in communication. That's kind of awkward. I don't like it, but whatever. And actually, I don't think in either the test-taking world or the public education world, no one really, beyond kind of elementary school, no one really gets down into nitty-gritty of reading and writing in this 10-second by 10-second level. And I think that's kind of the big difference in the way I'm viewing reading and writing. I'm viewing it in terms of the decisions that you're making every 10 seconds. If you guys can share your thoughts on Reddit, on, I don't know, your Instagram, your WhatsApp, just wherever. The more you share your thoughts, the more it helps me, and hopefully the more it helps the world, because what that does is it allows me, because I'm paying for my developer out of pocket. I don't make actually that much money because reasons, but I'm paying my developer out of pocket to keep building the app up, even though the app by itself is actually not making me a lot of money, but because I'm building towards a long-term vision where the app and the course kind of go hand in hand. I have the SAT content all prepped out, which takes a lot of time to write, and then eventually I'm going to do the other kinds of content. So yes, the more you help spread the news about just really what it did for you, just the truth, you just share the truth. I feel like it'll help build this up and then make it more profitable, which can then get reinvested into improving the course itself. So thank you, thank you in advance for sharing what you know. Beast Boy is saying. Well, how do you know an 800 difficulty question from a 600 difficulty question? And I mean, I'll tell the answer that I will tell for course enrollees, okay? The way to tell if a question is beyond your level is you try to identify the transitions and you can't. You try to thread the characters and you can't. You try to make a prediction and it's a low confidence prediction. You try to make a match and there is no match. And then you try to defend A and you try to defend A, you try to defend B, you try to defend C, you try to defend D, and at least two of them have low confidence or higher, right? When it's like that, it's clearly beyond your level. At that point, you should move on, right? Now, there's variations of this where you try to identify transitions. You can. You try to thread some characters. You can do most of them, but there's one that you don't really understand, and you can't tell if it's two characters or one character. You try to make a prediction. You're like medium confidence. You try to match, you're like, two partial matches, or maybe even three partial matches. And then you look at those three partial matches, you look at A and C and D, and you're like, one of them is low confidence and one of them is medium low confidence, but actually another one is also low confidence. So there's like 3 low confidences, and you're like, is this my level or is this beyond my level? It kind of gets awkward, right? But actually, at this point, I would still encourage you move on. It kind of doesn't matter as long as you keep moving on. What happens is you build momentum, and when you have momentum, those vibes, the confidence stays up, and then you just keep moving, and then you kind of focus on all the other questions. You sweep up all the low-hanging fruit, and then you come back to this. And then when you come back to this, you read it again, and you're like, oh, I see the thread now. Oh, I can fix my prediction now. Oh, it's definitely not it's definitely not these 2 answer choices, so it's probably this last answer choice. Let me just try to defend this last answer choice. And then you defend all parts of that answer choice. And you're like, oh shit, yeah. That was actually a little easier than I thought. So that one is actually within your level. The thing is, it's hard to know. Like, there's the objective way to know, but the objective way to know is like ex post facto. I think that's the correct term. It's only knowable after the measurement is done. And how is the measurement done? It's basically it's essentially what happens. I take a sample of students who have certain scores, and then I show the same question to all these students, and then I kind of see the threshold at which blurrily it seems like kids who are at the 650 level are getting it right, but the kids who are at the 620 level are not getting it right. So I make that estimate, then I do some more sophisticated statistical analysis, and then I know that it's actually a 640 level question. Okay, but you're not going to do that. So all you can do is go with your actual abilities, right? You're just going to go with, hey, are the moves that I'm making getting clogged up, or am I feeling smooth and fluent and confident when I'm making my moves? The more it gets clogged up, the more likely it is that it's a question beyond your test. It's a question beyond your level, and okay, the counterintuitive thing is to just sacrifice it for now. Okay. Do I know how the international kids? No, I don't know, because they're actually doing it right now. They're starting right now. They haven't. I think even if you're like in New Zealand, you're probably not done. Maybe you're starting to finish up right now if you're in New Zealand, but I don't think you're even out of the test center yet. So no. Do I plan to? Yes, I do. It's kind of I don't know if anybody's been following me for a long time, but if you've been following me for a long time, you would know. Back in the day of the paper SAT, I used to sign up for like the March. Like I would try to take the test maybe once or twice a year, because it was just good YouTube content. But then when they transitioned to the digital SAT, they didn't let me enroll. Okay, they didn't let tutors enroll. Now, starting in 2024, I think they started letting adults enroll again. But by that point, my work schedule, it's kind of awkward. Like, I don't think they let. Actually, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they let internationals enroll. So I'd have to go back to the States just to take that test. And then usually I'm busy. Yeah, when I'm taking, like on test day, I'm like, I'm talking to students. So if I actually take a test myself, then what happens is like I'd have to sacrifice some other work. And that's kind of the main issue there. But yeah, if I go to the US, and if I want to take the test, I can. I just haven't been prioritizing it because I've sort of made my point. I mean, everyone knows that. I think everyone trusts that I'm actually not bullshitting you. This is actually me. Like I have a image out there with all my old practice tests, with all my old SAT College Board reports. All my AP scores and all my SAT scores and all that stuff. So it's just like, I'm not bullshitting you guys. This is just how I actually solve. Like, so I kind of proved that point. I don't know if I really need to keep reproving that point, except for the fact that it is good YouTube content. So, yeah, Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's on my mind, but I don't. It doesn't feel urgent. Is my short answer to that. Yeah. But then again, I don't know. I mean, I'm not the best marketer, so maybe some marketing genius. If I hire some marketing genius and they tell me that doing one of those videos is like the most impactful thing, then yeah, yeah, fuck it. I'll just take the test again. It's fine. Uh, you know, uh, I do need to eventually hire marketer slash community manager. So if anybody wants an internship and you're serious, and it's in particular, I'm looking for qualities like you're capable of self-reflection. You're capable of like self-reflection is just part of you. Uh, I don't need like someone who's like super experienced on the marketing front, although marketing is a little sensitive because of paid marketing, but we can do with organic marketing first. Um, but if somebody has a vibe, if you have the right vibe, I have to trust you fundamentally. That's the most important thing to me. I have to trust you. I feel like the skills are a little secondary to me. Um, but as long as you're adaptable and you have good executive function, that you can figure out what the work should be and start working on it, instead of having to wait on me to give you commands like some little lemmings or whatever, like little minions. And you're capable of self-reflection and capable of improvement, self-improvement, that you don't require like a lot of hands-on management because you're not a baby, and yeah, and you care about education and you understand the vision, you see what I'm seeing, right? Then hell yeah, send me an email. You're in your senior year, yeah. So maybe after you're done with your after you're done with your college, after you're done with your college apps, yeah. So marketing is one thing. Eh, anyway, for now, let's go back to SAT. Does anyone not have any SAT questions? I mean, come on. Uh, you guys, if anyone's out there who's just sort of like waiting for me to stop rambling, just don't wait for me to stop rambling. Just paste in the chat. It's fine. And if you have to repaste in the chat, it's also okay. That's just kind of how streams work. So say whatever's on your mind. Don't be scared. So Piggy, you said it helped watching my practice test videos last year, and yeah, good luck getting the 800. That would be amazing. And if you do get the 800, and if I helped you in any way, go ahead and just let me know. Drop a comment, say hi in Discord, say hi in Reddit, say hi in Reddit, whatever. Uh, do I think you're gonna get into Emory with a 1540? I mean, I think that's a decent score to get into Emory with. Let me quickly double check. By the way, I should mention that I'm not a college. I'm not a college. Oh, that's a little lower than I thought. Is this what year is this? Is this not a test optional school? That's kind of crazy. Oh, this is the 27th percentile, but this average, how are they computing this? Uh, how are they computing this? Anyway, I'm not a admissions guy. I kind of hate thinking about admissions. I personally, my whole philosophy on admissions is just be a fucking amazing person. And when you're a fucking amazing person, then people will see that, and then they will want you to be with them, and then you're just gonna get admitted. Like, and that was my like. I was a Christian when I was in high school, so I wouldn't talk like that. But that was basically my philosophy. I'm just gonna work on me. I'm gonna work on me, and whoever accepts me, they see me. I'll work with them, and then I just work with them. And me. What is me? What am I? Right? I am a nerd. So I got into very nerdy schools, and I didn't get into Princeton. I didn't get to Harvard. I got into Chicago and Amherst and Williams and Reed, and I got into and Swarthmore and hyper nerdy. Like I got into the schools I got into because I'm just me, right? And I wasn't like hyper analyzing stats or college admissions. I'm not really about that social game, like of figuring out what, like I'm not gonna shape myself to the school. Like I'm not gonna pick up some volunteering for cats with three legs, because I heard that last year some kid got into Yale because they had an amazing essay about cats with three legs volunteering. Like, bro, what the fuck? I'm gonna be me, and I'm gonna just get into the thing that they. I'm gonna just get into the school that I get into, right? So I'm just gonna work on me. If me means like being amazing at soccer, then that's being amazing at soccer. If me means now, then again, there's also the flip side, which is you should also challenge yourself to get out of your comfort zone. Like that's also a really important tension. Sometimes I think in America, in particular, when we say "be you," we're like, it can kind of be sort of closed-minded. You might need to challenge yourself, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and expand your horizons. Obviously, so that caveat aside. I really hate the admissions game. I don't like the statistics and the competition, all that bullshit. So it's not me. All I'll say is with Emory, probably 1540. It seems like you're gonna get in, but that's not the only thing. You got to be an interesting person, right? You got to be somebody that when the admissions officer sits down with when the admissions officer reads your essay, and then you're like, oh, you want the admissions officer to look at your profile and not say, "Oh, he's the 1540 guy." What is that? What is the 1540 guy? That's like nothing. Um, you want the admissions officer to say something like, "Oh, he's the guy that analyzed the chemical structure of popcorn." Like, he's the popcorn guy or whatever. I mean, chemical structure is probably not that sophisticated with popcorn, but whatever, right? But like, you wanna be somebody that's interesting. It's like, oh, I want to talk to popcorn guy. When meet popcorn guy, I want to say hi to popcorn guy. So like, that's the kind of thing that you want to be. The score is just the first gate, It's just a tutorial, right? You just pass the tutorial. You're not done with the game yet, right? Once you're done with the tutorial, then you have to go and kill Radon or whatever, right? You have to go and do other stuff. Uh, Interview tips to appear as an amazing person for college interviews. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe times have changed, but like I just wore my shitty khaki pants that were all torn up when it was not a style because I was just poor. So my khaki, I wore like ugly clothes to my Princeton interview, and the man was an older man and a distinguished scholar and gentleman, and I knew he judged me right away. And you know what I did? I was like, "Oh, okay, this is not my school then." So I kind of, this is not like I don't. But on the other hand, now as an adult, would I tell Saul to do the same thing? No, I wouldn't. I would say, as an adult, I would say to little Saul, just wear the other pants without all the fucking, doesn't make you look like a slob and like a bum. It's like, I would. And I'd also say, little Saul, like spend 15 minutes, like look up Princeton and do some research. But then, but it kind of doesn't matter. Like I was gonna be what I was gonna be. Like it's just like with my experiences, with my little traumas, my sort of distortions, my messed up and silly and naive like value systems, and just I was just like, what was I was a poor kid with a bit of a chip on the shoulder, and I was like, I don't need to impress anyone. And it's not a cool attitude exactly, but I was just struggling. I was just processing things the way I was going to process it. And cleaned up my even if I cleaned up my appearance, then it's gonna come out in my tone of voice and all that stuff. So it's just like, instead of trying to kind of like trim me into the right look, I would look at little Saul and be like, dude, whatever you like whatever you love, just keep focusing on that. Because even though you're this imperfect, somewhat arrogant, somewhat like gangly and awkward, and sometimes you say things that kind of sound autistic and kind of offensive to people, and even though you're that way, trying to fix all that stuff is going to take more effort than just doing the thing that you love and sharing your love for that thing, and just keep doing that, right? It's so much easier to keep adding fuel to the fire than it is to try to arrange all the firewood in this perfect like prismatic formation so that it doesn't offend somebody. It's just do the thing you love, and it's okay. You're imperfect, and some admissions officers will see the imperfection, they'll latch onto it, and some admissions officers will see the imperfection but then see the love, and then they'll latch onto the love. And it's kind of a roll of the die. You're not really, maybe you really, 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 really want to get into Harvard, and the regional admissions officers for your particular application just have a kind of different personality than if you just lived in the next state over in Wyoming or whatever. And that other admissions officer would have fought harder for you, whereas this admissions officer didn't really fight that hard for you. But how do you know? Are you going to interview them? Are you going to call them? Are you going to have your mom call them? Like, what are you going to? Who cares? That's life, man. Life is a little random. So, yeah. So just do the thing you love. And when you go to the interview, I'll be more practical now. When you go to the interview, dress kind of nice. Learn some facts about the school, and be prepared. And I know this is like the really cliche thing, but I think a lot of high school students don't really understand why this is so important. But when they say ask questions, it's not really important that you are asking questions like that are smart. It's the fact that when you ask questions, the power balance becomes less asymmetrical. Okay? When your center of gravity is you, and you're like, is your school good enough for me, right? And when you have that mentality, you start naturally being curious. It's like, what's this like? What's that like? What's this like? And and you actually shift the power balance. And as a human being, as an adult, when I see a student like that, I'm like, oh, this person knows what they're looking for, and that makes such a big difference. Even if the thing you're looking for seems kind of like, but like at least if I can feel that it's genuine, that it's not a pre-scripted thing, that you're actually asking whatever's on your mind, then I will be like, oh yeah, that's an interesting kid. Like I'll feel that feeling, right? So that's kind of the. By the way, just background, I did used to do interviews for a long time. I think for like 7 years out of Chicago, I used to do interviews for Chicago. So I no longer do it, but I've seen a lot of kids for those interviews. 1200 to 1290, 1400, study for. I mean, bro, you want a 100-point jump. I mean, you can just like inshallah it, dude. You can just kick it. you can just YOLO it, man, because your practice test scores aren't really living up to your expectation. But I guess my default advice is always this, dude. For September, aim at 1200. Aim at 1250. But the fact that you're jumping around that much. Okay, you know what? 1200. Tell me your reading writing. Okay, tell me your reading writing, because that's gonna help me. And then I can give you better advice. And holy shit, I just realized I am late. Okay, sorry. I was talking for so long, I completely forgot I had class 8 minutes ago. I actually have to go out right now. Guys, if you are interested in, guys, good luck on the SAT tomorrow. If you're interested in advice, if you want to process your thoughts a little bit before going to SAT tomorrow, I encourage you to come into the Discord server. There's a thread called September SAT Commitment. What is one promise you're making to yourself tomorrow? Go ahead and share your answers over here, and then follow up with I will follow up with you, or I'll create a new thread to follow up with you on your commitments. Okay, come to the Discord server, and if you're interested in the course, let me know. The description is down here below. Okay, gotta go. Peace out, guys. Good luck.